Okay, that was Philip, and now we are going to switch to another speaker. He's got so much things that he does that I cannot choose what to mention. I would mention that he brews his own beer. That is really cool. But he's developer advocate for JetBrains, and he's going to tell us about exploration of space. And by space, he means a product which is used to connect things which marketing and the people who know shit about computers with the other things who work with people who know about computers, work together. So do we have Maarten here? Hi, Maarten. Just a second, we are going to
unmute you. Hello.
Hey, hi, how are you?
Listen, good, how are you?
When I read this, I'm like, this is what I work with for years now. I see big companies, IT companies, all the people knowing everything, the computers with Bitcoin stickers and all those ThinkPads. And then there's this marketing department who's like, we want to post on Instagram. I need to use a Mac and I have an iPhone. And these people usually have really trouble. And this is something that you're trying to put together something that is really useful and needed because I saw the teams of marketers and of people who don't want to be too technical because they like pictures and short slogans, and they need to work together through forums and reports with people who do the serious IT jobs. Is this what Space does?
It is partially what Space does. I think the main idea is to bring all of the roles together in one place. So that people who want to communicate don't have to jump to different tools depending on how they want to communicate with another team, for example.
So, yes, because I know I'm a freelancer and I work with people, and this one wants me to install Slack, but then we move to Google Drive, and then he sends me a link to a chat which I instantly lose, and then he tells me it was in the email for 2 months now, and which I didn't receive because I thought that some two other people are speaking about something else. Is this what Space solves?
Absolutely. Not the emails, but the losing of chats and making sure that you can follow up on a chat at a later point in time is part of what is in Space, and much more, of course.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that. There's going to be a lot of IT talk, but I'm looking forward to that. And for one more message for you who are watching us at Facebook or YouTube, join us at our virtual showroom. Register at openslava.sk and you can join us, ask questions, and win Nintendo Switch. We have a competition for Nintendo Switch. So please, if you are on YouTube and want to experience more, come to the virtual showroom. Thank you. And now it's your time. Maarten, the stage is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jan, for the introduction. I hope my screen is visible as well, but let's assume it is. So welcome from my side as well to an exploration of space. The idea of this talk is to quickly give you an overview of what we mean by space, or what we mean with the product JetBrains Space. And I think Jan mentioned in the intro about marketing. Well, I have 2 or 3 marketing slides, and I actually like them because they are really good in conveying the idea that is behind space. And once we get through the slides, we will just demo, and see whatever is in there. And half an hour is too short to show everything, so we will see where we get. So first of all, Space is a product that we at JetBrains needed. If you don't know JetBrains, we are a company that builds IDEs, services like TeamCity for continuous integration and all that. We have been building that since 20 years, and the idea is to bring people the best development experience that they can have using all of those tools. But of course, we are a software development company, but we also have different roles. We have designers, we have marketeers, we have administration, we have IT pros, we have folks, we have cooks in the restaurant of one of our offices. So we have lots of different roles. And we were thinking, how can we improve our own communication internally with a tool? And what can we bring to other people who are out there and may be facing the same issues? And we started looking at that, and our realization was that we are very much a tech company, but every company nowadays is really a tech company, if you think about it. Most organizations have some digital marketing, most organizations have some people building software and development tools, and they have to work together on maybe filing issues, thinking about features, but also communicating with one another in a chat, sharing files, all of those things. And we saw this was the case for JetBrains, but essentially every company out there is a tech company, which was an interesting realization. So we started building space for ourselves internally. And we decided, well, every company really has their own people and teams that are the power or the central point of things happening in the company, the people doing the work, the people essentially being the company. There's no company without people and vice versa. People work together typically on projects, whether that's a very long running project that goes on for ages, or it's something at a customer where you have to work with a customer and build a project together with a customer. People work together on projects. And of course, that working together, the collaboration aspect there is also something that is there in space and that we try to bring together in the tool. So linking all of those things together. Now, I know this is a slide that you will see from a lot of companies out there building similar tools. So let's go into a little bit more detail. With people and teams, what we mean there is that in space, you get to manage contacts, you get to manage teams, you get to manage permissions and roles, but also things like absences and vacations. And there's also integration with calendars and meetings, locations, maps of locations, where is anyone seated in the office, etc. Typically, what you will see in many companies is that all of these tools are kind of separate. They are separate tools. If you want to book vacation, for example, you would have to go to a separate tool, book your vacation there. If you would want to work with your calendar, you would use a different tool, work with the calendar in that different tool, and nothing would really be integrated. If you were lucky, if you go on vacation, you will automatically see something happening in your agenda. But even that in many companies is something that doesn't even happen. So all of that is in space as a central part around people and teams. In terms of projects, we have a knowledge base, we have Git hosting, we have continuous integration, CI/CD, all of that, code reviews as well. They are very software focused, I agree, but issues, planning boards, knowledge base are all things that many people in the company could use. Now, where is the link with this people aspect of things? Well, the idea is that if you are working together with people on a project and you're a developer and you, for example, want to open up a code review, wouldn't it be nice if that code review tool already knew the people on your team who are available or not available, and give you access to their calendar from there so that you know if the code review is something that is urgent, that you essentially can see that today the code review is not going to be handled by that person because they are very busy or on vacation or things like that. So the core concept of space is really integrating different tools into one platform and having this 1 + 1 = 3 equation where combining all those tools in one project or in one product really brings the value of those things to the surface. Now with that, I am through my slides. I have a slide at the end that says thank you, and everything in between will be demos. So let's switch to space. During the demo, I will be using two versions of space. One is going to be, and I'm going to refresh this one. One is going to be this one that is in my light browser here. That is me as a user in space. The other one is going to be in here, and that is going to be a dark browser. And let's also reload that one. And it looks like my space is currently reloading. Ha, that's interesting. All right, how are we going to solve this? I have no idea what's going on there. It's coming through. Okay, perfect. Probably my connection. So we have a light version, which is one user, and the other one is a dark user, and that is or a dark theme, just to give you an idea that there's multiple people working together. All right. So first thing you will see if you log into space and you already set up the organization and things like that is your personal dashboards. Personal dashboards is customizable, but by default will give you your calendar for today. So I have a talk going on at the conference here, so that's very visible. I can look at tomorrow, I can look at other days as well. And yeah, essentially quickly go through my calendar. Why is that there? Well, if you log into space, you get this nice overview of what is going on in your day-to-day work. You will also see followed members and teams. In a company, typically you work together with your team. So you will see my software development team there as people that I follow, but also these individuals that I often have to collaborate with, that I chat with, that I work with together. And they are here, first of all, for quick access. I can quickly jump to one of those people and either go to their profile or start chatting with them. The other thing is that the people you follow, you will quickly see who is available, who is sick, who is out of the office, things like that. Again, to give you a quick overview of what to expect during the day. So I already know that I shouldn't be pinging Rodrigo here because he's unavailable today because sick leave or whatever. What you will also see is your favorite projects, and that's going to be a big focus of what we'll see during the remainder of this talk. But the idea there is that if you have things that you work on continuously or things that you work on for a specific period of time, again, you can customize this dashboard and bring the projects that you often work on to that dashboard. Now, I mentioned integration, and a very central point of integration in Space is through chats. So unlike other tools where you would have, for example, Slack or Teams or whatever to use chats, Space comes with chats embedded, where you can have channels with multiple people, where you can do direct messaging, where you can get even notifications about things that are going on in the entire system. The idea of that is that you no longer need an external tool to handle your chat needs. The main idea is that by having all of those inside of Space, you get notifications about people who post a new absence. You will get notifications about new issues being created in a certain project. You will get notifications about people leaving or joining the organization. So instead of you having to go into a big marketplace of tools that is out there to integrate your chat tool with, all of this is the inverse. Space comes with all of those tools out of the box and integrates it into the built-in chat in Space as well. Remember chats, because we will see quite a bit of that as well, but remember this is one of the core concepts in Space where you will see a lot of things. In the introduction of my talk, I think Jan mentioned following up on chat messages that you receive, and it's maybe a quick sidestep that I want to show here. Very often, if someone asks you something, so let's say this other user asks me in a direct message, let's say, can you ping me when the talk is done? When they ask this to me, I will see that in my chat, of course. I can immediately respond and say, sure, but I will have to follow up on this at some point. What you would typically have to do is make a mental note of this or mark this message as unread or whatever. What you can do in Space is add this message to your to-do lists, and it will show up in your to-do list as something that you should follow up on. Not just a message, but really a link to the message so you can easily navigate back to that thing and maybe complete it or follow up on it at a later point in time. Again, one of those integration points is that those to-dos are integrated with your calendar. So what you can do is for this to-do, create an issue in the issue tracker or create a meeting. So if this following up on some message in the chat is going to take you a couple of hours or just 1 hour that you want to block in your calendar, you can quickly create a meeting from there and go beyond there. This calendar is Space internal. It is something that is in Space, again, as a core concept of the tool that you will get. We have integration with Google Apps and Office 365 coming there if that's something that you're using in your company. Right, I think this was more than enough for the introduction. Let's dive into a project. So I mentioned on the dashboard here, I have some favorite projects. I also added them to the sidebar on the left here, which means that I get quick access to all of the modules in a specific project. Let's dive into this Ktor project and maybe just go to the dashboard for this specific project. Every project is something where multiple people work together, collaborate on what is going on in that project. And this is very software oriented. You will see code reviews, you will see some repositories, some checklists, issues, documents, and all of that. Maybe a really quick overview here is that for every project, you will have the ability to set up this knowledge base kind of structure where you have folders of documents where you can list how you can, for example, work on code reviews, what the general idea is there. If you have meetings going on, you can take meeting notes there as well if you want that. You can also add those documents to your to-do, by the way. So if this is something that you have to follow up at some point, I can also add this document to my to-do list. You can edit documents, and editing documents is something that you can do collaboratively as well. So if you are doing a big brain dump, a planning meeting or whatever, you can have multiple people in the company work together on the same document at the same time and store them related to your project. A different type of documents is going to be checklists. Checklists are really what the name says, a list with checkboxes. But the idea is that in checklists, you can easily quickly write down something that you have to do. So build demo script could be something where I say, okay, think of scenario, maybe build a demo and get samples ready. Something like this, quickly note things down. And from this checklist, you can also move things up and down and left and right and all of that. But from a checklist, typically in a project, you can start creating issues. So you'll see some of these checklist items already have an issue linked to them. And one of them is, for example, write a blog post about new navigation. Well, that is something that is in progress. I can see this in the list of checklist items, but by converting something to an issue, which you can do on the right-hand side here, you can assign people to it and you can track more status. Now this, let's open one of them. Let's go with this one. Present demo to customers. I now navigated from a checklist item to an issue that is in space, and you will see that you are able to comment on those and say thanks for delivering the demo. And this is going to be a comment on the issue. People navigating the issue tracker will see all of these comments. They can respond to it, add reactions to it. But my colleague, she will now see a new message in this issue popping up in the chats. I mentioned chats are really central to what you have in space. And the idea is that folks can just communicate either in an issue or in the chats, and things kind of flow naturally into one another. So instead of having just a message saying, hey, this issue was updated in your Slack, here you will see that the issue becomes a channel in your space chat, for example. Right, what else do we have in projects? Projects, of course, have issue boards if you have issues that you want to track and move around. But very often in code projects, you will start working on code as well, right? So what you will see is that a project can have one or multiple repositories. And in a repository, you will, of course, be able to see what are the commits that are there. You will be able to see the files that are there and all of that. Maybe an interesting thing to note here is that in a Git repository, you can also add comments to existing files that are in there. So let me see if I can find the file here that has comments already. The idea is that in any Git repository, you can start writing a conversation or talk to people about what's going on with this line of code, or is this a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. And again, I can work with this from within my source code viewer, but my colleagues might be looking at this from the chats. They will see this pop up in the chat again. Because this is a chat, it also means that if during such a conversation you discover an issue, you can also quickly convert this one into an issue, for example, or again, add it to your to-do list, etc., etc. Right, coding in space is Git-based, so you can clone this using any Git clients that you may want to be using. The alternative that you can use is make use of any of the JetBrains IDEs, whether that's IntelliJ, Rider, PyCharm, WebStorm, or whatever. We have an integration there where you can essentially say get from VCS, load the project from VCS, log into your space organization. Let's quickly do that, accept it. All right, and in here you will now see that we have multiple repositories that I can clone and that I have access to. I can quickly clone from here and start working on it. Now, because we only have half an hour, I already made a couple of changes to this specific project that I'm opening. But ideally, if a developer during the day starts to work on their issue and starts to work on a bug fix or a new feature or whatever, they would create a new branch, make a change, commit it, push it back to space, and then start working with a code review. So let's skip the actual coding and let's just look at the code review instead. So it's a different project here. I already opened a code review that adds a space automation job. Maybe a quick side note here, space has CI/CD built in. And the idea was that in this change, I'm actually adding space automation script, which is a Kotlin file that essentially describes what the CI/CD process should look like, that can spin up service containers, for example, to work with your unit tests, etc. I opened this code review in Space itself, and I added some reviewers there. And Heather, my colleague, is one of the reviewers on this specific one. So what she can do is go to that project as well and start reviewing whatever is in there. Or another thing that she could do is from IntelliJ again, from in the IDE, the place where developers typically work, go to the code reviews tab, and again, look at whatever reviews are open there, dive into that one and see what is going on in the timeline, but also in terms of what files were added, what were the changes that were made, etc. And then even from here, start adding some comments and start adding some reactions and whatever you want to add there. Right. In most organizations, if you have a code review, the idea is to, at the end, merge it back into your main branch. You can do that in Space as well. You will see that this one says, okay, you can do this because you're an administrator, but you did not pass the required approvals. This is because in Space, you can also have quality gates where you can say, okay, before anyone merges anything into a specific branch, I want to have at least one reviewer, for example, or I want all unit tests to pass, or combination of whatever you want to have there. So this one, I can merge it because I'm an administrator on this instance, but ideally other people will not be able to push this merge button because I did not pass all of the requirements. Now, when things are merged, I mentioned that this code review was really about adding continuous integration to this project. I actually already have a couple of those jobs in this project. So for the restaurant service in this project, to Git repositories with different requirements. But for this restaurant service, I already added such a CI/CD script, and you will see that whenever I make a change here, you will see that the results come in, and I will be able to see what steps were executed. So you'll see that we ran a Maven package builds, spun up a MySQL container there to work with. We have tests that we can look in that were run as part of this build. We can see which ones failed, which ones succeeded. We can also see which changes were part of this build. And we can look at pretty much anything that was created from here. Now, speaking about things that get created, typically at the end of your CI/CD process, what you will want is an artifact that you can work with, that you can download, that you can distribute in the company. That's also something that is in Space. My two builds here essentially push a container image into Space, and I can then use that container image to, for example, deploy to Kubernetes or whatever. I'm not going to wait for this one. Looks like my connection is acting up a little bit. What I will do is quickly go back to the slides and wrap up and open the floor for some questions. And I know this has really been a whirlwind tour of what is in Space, very shallow as well. We didn't really dive deep into one of those features. But just if you take anything away, remember it's the integration part. We build software at JetBrains, and the idea is to bring all roles, all people in the company together, working through the chat, working in teams, working with projects and issues and checklists and documents that are in there. And then for example, software developers, we are adding the entire flow of having Git repositories, having CI/CD, having container registries that you can work with, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I think we can wrap up here and go for questions if you have any.
Yes, hi. Sorry, we're back.
Hey, Jan, welcome back.
Wonderful. It looks like Facebook, but for work.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. I was like, okay, people are like having fun on LinkedIn, so maybe they're going to be having fun at this. What is the minimal team or minimal project for this? Is this like, can I use it? I run a stand-up comedy show here in Slovakia, and we have events, we have shows, we need to produce posters, we communicate with people who do graphics. Can we use that?
Absolutely, go for it. I don't think you will be using the automation and Git repository stuff, but you can definitely create a project, have issue tracking, have a board for your next show, for example, where you have all of the issues and all of the tasks that still should happen, and drag them from in progress to complete, ideally. So you can go with that.
So, but what is is there like a minimum team to be allowed, or is this useful for teams of like 5 people, or do I need to have a huge organization with 30 plus programmers?
Really any size of team. So I have a personal space that I use for some stuff that I do in my free time. If you just want to have automation that you can do, you can even have a team of 0 and just use a script to work with space and push some stuff in there. Most of the customers we see are anything between 3 to 4 to 5 people, up to 20, 30, 50 people. And at JetBrains, we're currently using it with 1800s. So yeah, it scales to all sizes. So
you're using the JetBrains?
Yes, yeah.
1800 people use the system and it's still running. Did you have any outages?
Yeah, we sometimes have, because internally we run a pre-release version, dog food, everything. So it's not the version that people are using, but we sometimes have those, yes.
And then everybody just sits down and nobody knows what to do because they didn't receive a notification.
It's usually very short-lived, but yeah, in JetBrains, all of the teams are using different projects. So, for example, IntelliJ team, they are a big user of space internally, with code, with issues, with whatever is going on there. Space itself is also built using space. So the space team makes use of space to chat, to work on issues, to work on projects, to write the code and all of that.
That is really Inception in my head right now.
Yeah,
so you use space to workspace, and then you find a feature. This feature is not work, and you didn't receive the notification because it isn't working. Okay, that's wonderful. Is it possible to open a code review from the IDE?
Yes, absolutely. I know it was a really quick demo, but the idea is that you can go into the IDE, quickly create a change that you want to do, push it out to space again, and then from the IDE go in there and open a new code review if you want.
So all these things are ready to, if I download a new version of PyCharm, is it possible to like make it work somehow together?
Yeah, absolutely. So for IntelliJ and PyCharm, the space plugin is bundled. For the other IDEs, you will have to do a quick install of the plugin and you can start working with it. But once you have it, it's really logging in, as I quickly showed during the demo, and then you can get started with whatever projects you have in there.
And you're already in, and it's that is really cool. Is it possible to extend space with custom integrations? Is it possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe a very quick demo there. In space, the idea is that all of the things are integrated out of the box, and you can work with everything because there is chat and all of those features. Obviously, we can't integrate with everything, so there is a big API playground, and essentially anything you can do in the interface, you will find documentation on, for example, how you can send messages to people or send a message to the chat somewhere, with examples on what should be the channel ID, what should be the contents, and what the request would look like. So you will get that on the right-hand side there.
So you can just connect it with anything, with Signal even. I want to communicate securely and I want to do it. Like, can you do outside?
That's going to be a harder one because of how Signal works, I'm afraid. But in theory, you could do that and listen to something that happens in space. And if Signal has an API to do this, send something off to Signal, for example.
It's doable. I did it. I managed to send a Signal message from my Linux box at home, and mostly it was, as you call it, auto magic, because I put something in the command line and then I put something else in the command line, and then it just worked, because we had a problem to find a vaccination spot 6 months ago in Slovakia. So I managed to write a short script to get my mother a spot in a hospital 100 kilometers from Bratislava, but she did get her job. So this is possible. Is it like open? Isn't it a closed system? Because I know that programmers love to tinker with things and I just take a look how it works. And
you can absolutely tinker with things. I'm doing the same thing, actually. I'm really interested in seeing how many meetings that I typically have, for example, during the week. So I have a quick tool that uses our own API, and that gives me back some statistics on the number of meetings that I have and all of that. And Yeah, there we
I
go.
know
So,
these kind of people who are just crazy about statistics of things you don't need to know, but you just love to have the number somewhere.
yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful. That's something about programmers. Okay, I'm looking at the questions. There are no questions, so either it was like very good, well explained everything, or everybody knows it. How long is this space running? How long it's available?
In public, we released last year in November, I think. So it's about 1 year. In private, inside of JetBrains, we've been using it for a long, long time in different forms and with less of the entire product that you see today. But I think we've been using it for over 5 years already.
Wow. And and there are many people like combining different tools, Slack and Git. Would you recommend to migrate? The one of the talks before you was about migrating into new technologies, into something new. Is it ready to be migrate to space from?
It is absolutely ready, but there's also the typical IT saying of it depends. So it really depends on what your current integrations are. We are working on a marketplace, for example, to integrate with tools like PagerDuty if you're doing monitoring and all of that. But if you need those today, you will have to manually set up a webhook and integrate those until we have that marketplace ready.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Maarten. That was really interesting and fun, and it looks really cool. And I hope that you get some 3,000 to 4,000 new customers today, and hopefully, is it free for at least some?
Yeah, you can try it for free. So just go to jetbrains.space online, and then you can create an account. And there's free CI credits even, so you can definitely give it a good try before you decide to go onwards.
Okay, thank you very much, and have a nice afternoon.
Yeah, likewise, and thank you for hosting.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
And for you other guys who are watching this show, I have another announcement. Please join us at the virtual show floor. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching at Facebook, anywhere else, go to openslava.sk, register, and in no time, couple of minutes, you will receive your login details, and you can join us in this virtual playground, because that's where everything is going to happen now. Right now, as I'm looking at it, we are going for some 30-minute break, which you can fulfill with networking, but you have to be in the show floor. You can meet other people who are watching. You can see our stands of our sponsors, and you can join the competition number 1, which is where you can win a Nintendo Switch, or competition number 2, where you will be able to win JetBrains licenses. Free 1-year personal subscription for any product from JetBrains All Products Pack. In this stream, 5 people from this stream will be able to win these licenses, and 5 people from the other stream will be able also to win these licenses. So I think this is a pretty cool thing. So enter, meet us at the virtual show floor and the instructions, and you will figure out everything in there. By the way, you can also network, talk to other guys. You can go try the AI bar, and we'll be back in 30 minutes. And until then, stay cool, use the bathroom, have something to drink or eat, and join us at the virtual show floor, where you can get by registering to openslava.sk. See you soon.